Mel Novak, a name that may not be shouted from rooftops today like some of Hollywood's younger stars, still echoes quietly through the corridors of classic cinema and martial arts film history. He was a man whose legacy wasn't built on glitz or gossip, but grit, pure, relentless grit, the kind that shapes legends and leaves behind a trail of stories too rich to be forgotten. Known most famously for his role as the unforgettable villain Stick in Bruce Lee's legendary 1978 film Game of Death, Mel Novak has passed away. His daughter, Nicole Conant, shared the heartbreaking news with TMZ, revealing that her father died Wednesday morning in Southern California at a board and care facility, succumbing to natural causes. He was 90 years old. To understand the man the world lost is to go beyond the bright lights and camera angles. It's to explore the journey of a performer who didn't just act. He committed body and soul to every role he took on. Mel Novak was no stranger to pain, and that wasn't just a metaphor. Over the years, he racked up more injuries than most would endure in a lifetime, all because he believed in authenticity. Stunt doubles weren't his style. Faked punches? No thanks. If a scene called for a fight, Mel wanted to feel every hit. If it needed a fall, he'd take the plunge. That kind of raw devotion to the craft came with consequences, and according to his daughter, he had been in chronic pain in recent years, his body a map of the battles he fought for the sake of his art. But let's take a step back. Let's remember Mel not just as the villain he so often portrayed on screen, but as the man behind the roles. There's a reason he found himself cast as the bad guy so often. He was simply too good at it. His sharp features, commanding presence, and an uncanny ability to channel menace made him a director's go-to for a character that needed to strike fear and awe. Yet off-screen, those who knew Mel speak of a deeply spiritual, kind, and disciplined man. A man of faith, family, and fierce loyalty. He may have played villains, but he lived like a hero. Mel was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a city that shaped his blue-collar work ethic and gave him the toughness that would become a cornerstone of his screen persona. Long before he was exchanging blows on the set with martial arts masters, Mel had dreams of playing professional baseball. And he had the talent to back it up. He was signed by the Pittsburgh Pirates, but injuries, a cruel and ironic foreshadowing of his later life, ended his athletic career before it could truly begin. That's when fate rerouted him to the world of entertainment. He didn't take the typical Hollywood path. Mel didn't roll up to Los Angeles with a golden ticket or a famous family name. He worked for it. Every line, every role, every fight scene that left him bruised or broken was earned with sweat and persistence. When he landed the part of Stick in Game of Death, he wasn't just joining a movie. He was stepping into history. The film, unfinished at the time of Bruce Lee's tragic death, was already mythic. And Mel's portrayal of the cold-blooded sniper with a matchstick permanently resting between his lips added a haunting layer to the film's mystique. To this day, that image of Stick, calculating, controlled, dangerous, is etched into the minds of martial arts cinema fans around the world. Mel didn't ride that one role into retirement. He kept working, stacking up dozens of credits over the decades. His filmography reads like a tour through Hollywood's evolving fascination with crime thrillers, martial arts epics, and gritty action dramas. From Black Belt Jones to Force 5, from Tales of the Dead to An Eye for an Eye, Novak was there, often in the shadows, always intense, always magnetic. Directors admired his ability to transform. Audiences couldn't look away. He wasn't the kind of star who demanded headlines. He was the kind who left an imprint. And for all his on-screen villainy, Mel Novak lived a life of surprising contrast. He was an ordained minister who spent much of his later life visiting prisons, hospitals, and homeless shelters. He preached, he listened, he gave his time to those society had largely forgotten. It's hard to reconcile the cold, menacing face from the movies with the man who sat quietly beside inmates, offering words of hope and redemption. But that was Mel, complex, compassionate, and committed to making a difference where he could. He saw his platform, however niche, as a tool for something bigger than fame. In many ways, his life mirrored the character arcs he never got to play, the redemption stories, the spiritual awakenings, the flawed men who find light in the darkness. Even in his pain, Mel kept moving. His daughter Nicole shared that the last few years were difficult, that the toll of decades' worth of on-screen punishment had settled deeply into his bones. He bore it all, silently and stoically. It's hard to imagine the kind of physical strain he must have endured. Broken bones, strained ligaments, wear and tear from falls and fights that were choreographed but never cushioned. He suffered for his art in ways few truly understood, yet he never seemed to regret it. That was the price of authenticity, and Mel Novak was nothing if not authentic. He is survived by his daughters, Nicole and Leah, his ex-wife Vera Novak, and his grandchildren, who will carry on the memory of a man who lived fearlessly and loved deeply. They knew him not as the villain audiences feared, but as the father and grandfather whose laughter filled rooms and whose presence brought comfort. That's the beauty of legacy. It lives in film reels and family stories alike. Tributes are already pouring in from fans, actors, and directors who worked with Mel or grew up watching his films. They speak of his professionalism, his humility, and his uncanny ability to make every role feel real, even when the explosions were fake and the danger was staged. They remember how he always showed up prepared, how he made younger actors feel welcome, and how he approached each new role like it might be his last. There's a kind of grace in that, the way he gave his all to every project, regardless of its budget or prestige. Hollywood is built on illusion, but Mel Novak's contributions were very real. His pain was real. His discipline was real. His commitment to his faith, to his family, to his roles was unwavering. You don't see that often anymore. In an industry that often rewards surface-level charm and fleeting trends, Mel stood as a reminder that there's value in staying true to who you are, even if it means taking the long road. His death at 90 marks the end of an era, a chapter in Hollywood where villains were human, fights were fought with bare knuckles and bruised ribs, and authenticity mattered more than applause. And yet, even as we say goodbye, it's hard not to feel that Mel Novak's story is still being written. In every screening of Game of Death, in every gritty action film that bears his name in the credits, he lives on. In the lives he touched through his ministry, his family, and his quiet moments of kindness, he endures. We don't often get to choose how we're remembered. But if Mel could choose, it probably wouldn't be as the guy with the matchstick in his mouth or the cold glare that could stop a scene cold. He'd want to be remembered as a man of faith. A father. A fighter. A servant. A student of life who never stopped learning, even when the lessons were painful. A man who fell hard, stood up slow, and kept walking forward. Rest in power, Mel Novak. The screen may dim, but your light, fierce, flawed, and full of heart, continues to shine. And maybe that's what we're all searching for in the end. Not just fame, not just recognition, but meaning. The kind of meaning that doesn't get washed away when the credits roll. Mel Novak found that meaning not just in the roles he played, but in the lives he touched, both in front of the camera and far beyond the spotlight. He never let the illusion of fame distort his view of reality. He knew the difference between being seen and being known, between applause and connection, between performance and purpose. It's easy in today's world to forget about the quiet legends, the ones who didn't chase scandal or headlines, who weren't caught up in controversy or clout. Mel Novak was one of those rare individuals who let his work speak for itself, who walked with integrity and lived a life that, while not splashed across magazine covers, was rich with meaning. He made a place for himself in a world that often only makes room for the loudest voices and flashiest stars. His strength wasn't in shouting to be heard, it was in staying true to his values even when no one was watching.